Dre
Baldwin. Yeah, that's me. I want to tell y'all why you need to be going to live events. And of course, yes, I have a live event coming up. It's called Work on Your Game Live. And yes, I want you in the room at Work on Your Game Live. I wouldn't be telling you this if it wasn't directly related to an event that I was doing, but I want you to understand something. Whether you come to my event, whether you go to somebody else's event, whether you come to mine, somebody else's, and 10 other events, you need to be going to live events either way. Even if I didn't have a live event, you still need to be going to live events, because guess what? I go to live events that are not my events, and I pay money, and I travel, and I sit in the crowd, and I take notes and listen to other people speak. And I'm going to give you 3 reasons why you need to be going to live events. Not virtual events, not listening to podcasts, not reading books, not taking courses. Yes, you can be doing all those things. In addition to all of that, you need to be going to live in-person events. Here are the 3 reasons why you need to be doing it. And if any of these does not make logical sense to you, then don't follow anything that I'm saying. But if they all make logical sense, and I'm going to make sure they make logical sense, that's my job after all, then you should be rethinking your position and your mindset around going to live events if you've ever been hesitant to do so. And before I get into the 3 reasons that you need to go to live events, let me go over some of the reasons that I know some of you don't attend live events. Number 1, it costs money. You got to pay for the ticket. You got to pay for the travel. If it's not in your hometown, home city, you have to pay for the hotel wherever you're going to stay, or Airbnb wherever you're going to stay. You got to pay for the food while you're there. The actual investment is not really an expense. The investment in going to a live event usually ends up being probably somewhere around twice as much as the cost of the ticket. You can take in as many days as the event is, that you're looking at $100 to $150 a day for wherever you're going to stay. Then you got another, let's say, $50 a day for the food that you eat. Then you got another, let's say, $200 to $500 for the travel to actually get there. So what is that? Let's say a 3-day event. You'll spend maybe $200 on food. You're going to spend another $500 on a hotel. That's $700. Let's say another $300 on the flight. That's $1,000 right there. If the ticket costs $1,000, then that $1,000 ticket, the whole investment ends up being about $2,000. And some of you look at that number and you get the sticker shock. You're like, damn, $2,000 to go to an event? I might as well just listen to their podcast. I might as well just read their book for $20 off Amazon. I might as well just listen to their podcast for free. Maybe I'll sign up for their course for $200. Why spend $2,000? I'm going to address that. All right, so we know the sticker shock, the investment and price. Number 2, maybe it's just the scheduling. Any of you who have families, I've been texting with some of you, you have kids, you have significant others, you might have a 9-to-5 work that you can't just take random days off from, and it might be hard for you to just travel logistically with your schedule right now. We're going to address that as well. We're going to address that on more of a value level. And number 3, if you've never been to a live event, but you do consume material on the internet like you're doing right now, then you might say, well, look, if I can hear Dre on the internet, and I can watch Dre on YouTube, and I can listen to Dre on a podcast, and I can read Dre's emails, why do I need to go somewhere and listen to Dre talk in person? What is the difference? I mean, things that he's talking about, if he talks about it on his podcast, he talks about it in a live room, what's the difference? Is there any difference? Yes, there's a difference. And I'm going to tell you now. Let's get into these 3 points. Number one reason why you need to be at a live event is when you hear something in person, you hear it differently than where you hear it through the internet, than when you read it in a book, when you read it in an article, when you watch it on YouTube. This is 100% true. Again, I'm a person who takes in a lot of material. I take in a lot of information. I am what some people call a sponge. The reason I'm able to put out so much information is because I take in a lot of information. I take in a ton of info virtually, the same way that you do. Like, you're watching this video, listen to podcasts, read books, read articles. I do all of that stuff. But I can go listen to the exact same person that I listen to their shows and watch their videos and all that stuff. When I hear them in person, I hear things differently. I take pages and pages of notes. There are people, what's the last live event that I went to was a marketing conference. This guy named Russell Brunson runs a company called ClickFunnels. I have listened to every episode of his podcast. And when I say every, I mean every. I went back to the very first episode he ever put out that he made before I even knew who he was. And I listened to all of them. We're talking like 600 episodes. I listened to all of them. I read all of his books. I've taken every course that he put inside of the platform or the software that I pay to use of his every single month. And I still go to his live events. And when I go to his live events, I come back with 30 pages of notes. Why is that? Because I hear things differently when that person is right there in front of me in person, and they explain things in a little bit different way. If you get somebody, anybody, even myself, if you got me to explain the same concept 3 different times, once in writing, once in a podcast episode, once on YouTube, and let's say 4 times, and one more in person, I'm going to say it a little bit differently each one of those 4 times. You're going to hear something different each one of those 4 times. That's why you got to be there in person. And at the same time, when you're there in person, you can also ask questions. You can give feedback and you can get feedback. That's why you got to be there at a live event, because you hear it differently when it's in person. That's the number one reason why you need to be at a live event, and you can't pay attention to anything else. Now, if you got a YouTube video playing on your iPad or your phone, you could be doing 20 other things. You'd be working out while you're listening to a podcast. You could be doing all kinds of stuff. You could be half reading when you're reading somebody's email. When you're at a live event in person, and you've invested in it, you're going to make sure you get your investment back, right? Your return on investment. So you're going to sit very close attention to every single word that person is saying. That's why you hear it differently, because you're paying more attention because you're right there in person. It's a whole different world when you're talking to somebody face to face and when you're talking to them on the phone. Can we agree? Logically, does that make sense? Great. Point number 2, reason why you need to be at live events. The people that you want to connect with, the people you want to network with, the people who you want to be on your team, people you want to be able to make a phone call and get something done with, those people, you know where they're at? They're at live events. And you know what kind of connections they make? They make real life connections with people whose hands they can shake and look them in the face. Those are their real connections. Listen, I understand. I am 100% understanding of having a Facebook page and building up your audience on Instagram and being on YouTube and podcasting. Listen, Work on Your Game podcast, we had our best listener month the last 3 months. September, October, November 2021 was our 3 best months in the history of the show. So I understand listening to audio. I got 17,000 fans on Facebook, 14,000 on Instagram, another 100,000 on YouTube. Listen, I'm all in on it. Another 30, 40,000 get emails from me. I'm in on all of this stuff. At the same time, my deepest connections, my strongest connections, when I really need to get something done and I want to make one phone call and it's done, those are not people that I met on the internet. Those are not people who like me on Facebook. Those are not people who like my Instagram photos. Those are the people who I met in person and shook their hands and we sat down and broke bread, sometimes literally and metaphorically. These are people who I know in person. Those are my real connections. When a real business deal needs to get done, I get a phone call and a deal can get done that fast. That's somebody I know in person. And if you want to have that power, you want to make those kind of connections, and you want people to look at you in that way, you got to meet people in person. Because, I mean, how valuable do you consider any relationship you built on the internet? It's not as real when you're just talking to somebody through a DM, even if you like them, even if you agree with them, even if y'all laugh at the same jokes, y'all on the same page on certain topics. Until you meet them in person, you haven't made that real connection to where if they really need something, you're the person that they're going to call on. That's the level that you want to get to. The way you do it is to go where those kind of people gather. And listen, you can meet these kind of people anywhere, honestly. I could go outside right now and maybe meet a random person. I might meet somebody in the hallway or in the elevator in my building. But going to a live event, here's the difference, is that all of these people are coming to one place for one reason, to network and to get information all at the same time. So you have a higher likelihood of meeting the right type of person because they're all there for the same reason at once. That's the reason why you want to go to a live event. So that's the second reason, is that the people you want to connect with are there. And the third reason why you want to go to live events is because luck happens when you're outside. Luck does not happen in the house. Luck does not happen when you're rolling through DMs. Luck does not happen when you're watching YouTube. Luck happens when you go outside. When I say outside, I mean metaphorically and I mean literally. Get out of your house, go to where people are actually at, and be somewhere where you can see and be seen. Somewhere where you can find people and be found. You have to be in the room where things are happening. And again, anybody who you know, ask the most successful, think of the 3 most successful business people that you know. I'm talking about people who you know in person. Like, you know them, you shook their hand, you know these people. The 3 most successful business people you know. Ask them who are their strongest business connections. Ask them who are your top 5 business connections. I guarantee you, all 5 of those people are people who they deal with in person, on a personal level, not just through the internet. Yes, they might know them. Maybe they met them on the internet. Maybe they connect with them a lot on the internet, but I guarantee you they dealt with those people in person, or they will be dealing with those people in person very soon. Luck happens when you're outside, folks. You got to go to where you can shake hands, meet people, and talk to them in person. That's where it goes down. So with these 3 reasons said, let me tell you, Work on Your Game Live is happening here in sunny Miami, Florida. I mean, can you see how beautiful it is behind me? That's actually the reflection. The outside is actually out here, but it's damn nary a cloud in the sky right now in Miami. It's like this all the time. If you've never been here before, it's like this all the time. If you have been here before, it's going to be the same way it was when you came here last time. It's going to be like this again. You might as well come here in January. I'm recording this on December 1st. is 80 degrees outside and it is pristine, beautiful. You see I got a t-shirt on. Why would you want to be in the snow where you live? Why would you want to be where it's 40 degrees why would you want to do that? Come here to Miami, January 21st and 22nd. That's a Friday and a Saturday. It's a 2-day event. I'm doing leadership on day 1, communication on day 2. You will learn how to lead other people and get people on board with you. You'll learn how to communicate your ideas and your thoughts out to other people so that they can understand what is in your mind, so they can see your value and they'll be willing and wanting to work with you. That's just the surface of what we're going to cover. 2 full days in Miami. I'm teaching everything. I mean, you already know my work. So I don't think I have to sell you any more on my value. I'm selling you on your value and your willingness to invest in yourself to come to an event like this, because the ROI on going to live events is 20x whatever you put in dollar-wise. All right, you need to start thinking about return on investment instead of just thinking about expenses. It's a whole different mindset, and the type of people you want to meet in life who think like this, guess where they're going to be? At Work on Your Game Live, January 21st, 22nd, Miami, Florida. The button is right down there. Click that button. December 15th is the last day to get your tickets. Don't say nobody told you, and I'll see you in Miami. Work on your game.